If you're anything like me, you don't have a huge dedicated workshop. Many of us are working out of a shared space like a garage, and one of the biggest issues we quickly run into is a lack of space. Hey guys, I'm David with Southern Style DIY. I've been making things in my garage now for about 4 years, and over those years I have slowly transitioned it from just a garage to a beginner workshop. Lately I've avoided making big changes so that I can completely transform the space, making it more effective and efficient. Before making those changes, I wanted to do my first shop tour. Unlike many shop tours, I'm going to be highlighting a lot of the inefficiencies that I hope to remedy over the next several months. Let's get started with 2 big items that I don't have a great spot for yet. Last year, I finally upgraded to a dust collector, and it's been a huge help keeping my shop more clean. Between the central location and expandable hose, it can reach most parts of the shop. Overall, I'm really happy with it, but I might relocate depending on some other changes. Another big addition to my shop last year was my bandsaw. At the time, this was the only open spot for it, so it's just kind of stayed here. I do plan on using it in a lot more upcoming projects, but I do like how it is tucked against the wall when not in use. Fortunately, I thought to throw it on casters so it can be easily moved whenever I need to. As much as I would like our garage to be 100% dedicated to being a workshop, we do have some normal garage things like this fridge that do need to stay out here. I don't want it to be completely wasted space, but I haven't been thrilled with any of the ideas I've been sketching out. If you have any ideas that can make this more usable space, I would love to hear about them in the comments below. I use my table saw for almost every project that I do, so it is at the heart of my shop. While it is on casters so I can move it whenever I want, this area actually is pretty good for how frequently I use it. I do need to add some storage for frequently used jigs and accessories, and I've also thought about adding a router to the wing because currently I do not have a router table. Like many people, behind my table saw, I have my outfeed table. And this one I just threw together from scrap ahead of the Mythosaur skull project. Before this, I was actually just using a piece of plywood thrown on top of sawhorses. Now that I have a more fixed outfeed table, I can see why so many people spend so much time making proper ones. This is also one of the only things in my shop that is not on casters, which I will fix when I make a better one. This wall is usually not on camera, and for a good reason. I've actually run out of lumber storage for future projects, so my full sheets of plywood tend to make their way over here so that they're not in the way. I also use this wall for some non-shop related storage that I hope to be relocating very soon. On the other side of the outfeed table, we have even more non-shop items taking up space. These are some old IKEA and Target shelves that we didn't have a place for in our house. And over time, different odds and ends that don't have a permanent home have found their way onto these shelves. I also have some outdoor equipment that's taking up valuable floor space. Like with the wall, I hope to be relocating all of this outside the shop very soon. We've made our way around to my big lumber cart where all my material was supposed to be stored. Over the years, it has been invaluable for my shop, and I actually have free plans available for it on my website. Its biggest strength is also its biggest weakness though. It has a lot of space to store a ton of material in several different ways. It's also on casters and intended to be mobile. However, due to how much material it can store, it is extremely heavy, which makes it effectively stationary. Over the years, I've found that I actually lose material in the cart and forget that I even have it. And that's mainly because it has storage on all sides, but I can only effectively access 2 of those sides. In conjunction with some other projects, I'll be making a more permanent solution for at least part of my material storage. This will be more accessible and hopefully help me be more efficient in my material use. This is especially helpful as lumber prices are so high right now. The wall side of the lumber cart has even more non-shop storage that I hope to be moving out of the shop very soon so that I can more effectively use both the wall and floor space. Moving back around to tools, my sliding 12-inch miter saw is dropped into a mobile workbench. And you may recognize this workbench because it is a modified version of the Voltron workbench that Bob from I Like to Make Stuff made a few years ago. I modified the miter saw by adding a removable fence, but the dust collection in it is severely lacking. Under the miter saw, I have some big open space that I use to store my spindle sander and a few other random tools. The other half has some shelves that I use for scrap storage. This has been super helpful for smaller scraps that I hope to use in future projects that were getting lost in my big lumber cart. Next to the miter saw, I have some finishing storage on the wall, and this is off of a J. Bates design from a few years ago. I have even more paint stored above the miter saw from a design April Wilkerson did several years ago before she had her massive shops. Both of these have served me well, and they'll be staying around for quite a while. Ultimately, I would like to consolidate all my finish together into one more accessible spot and get rid of all the finish that I know we're not going to be using. Next to the miter saw, we have our house's hot water heater, which is essential for us to have hot water in the house, but it is completely wasted shop space. In fact, I also need to try to keep sawdust off of the hot water heater because it is gas fired and it can be potentially dangerous to have sawdust next to an open flame. Similar to the refrigerator, I have been sketching out some ideas to make this space more useful, but I haven't settled on anything that I really like. If you have any ideas that could be of help, I would love to hear what you think in the comments below. Moving on to one of the most useful pieces in my shop, my mobile workbench. Like the miter saw, this was originally modeled after the Voltron workbench from I Like to Make Stuff. And when I built this one in the miter saw workbench, I also made a third originally that had my first table saw dropped into. Like the miter saw, I kept one side open and one side I installed shelves. This first set of shelves has these small parts organizers that all of my screws, nuts, bolts, and nails go into, and they're at quick access in case I ever need them during a project. Moving around, currently all of my table saw accessories are on this big pegboard system where I also have my angle grinder accessories. I like that it is quick access over here, but I do want all my table saw accessories under the table saw, but I do really like this pegboard system for random objects like this, and it's pretty compact. Moving on around to the other side of the shelves, I keep handheld power tools, and the dividers are all removable in case I ever change my mind about what power tools I want to have quick access to while I'm at my workbench. I also keep some bigger tool chests over here next to my vertical sliding drawer. I love the idea of this, and I think I originally saw Paul Jackman do it, but I have this other side open right here, which means sawdust gets all into these slides. I want it to be a little more enclosed in a final solution. Other than that, you can see I have my tape that I have quick access to because a lot of you know I love using blue tape in a lot of projects. And that gives me a lot of storage underneath this. This has been a great workbench to have, but I do have some tweaks that I want to make later on. We've come almost full circle in the shop back to a scene that should be pretty familiar. This is actually the first workbench I ever made, and it was one of the first projects I did in the garage. It's actually stayed pretty sturdy over the years, which I've been impressed with, but it has a ton of wasted space underneath. Originally, the whole workbench was open underneath, which had even more wasted space. A while after I built it, I did add this bank of shallow drawers. I saw this on the Shop Built channel and really liked it. Now, I know Adam Savage says that drawers are where tools go to die, and he does have a point. An overstuffed, overcrowded drawer does make it easier to lose things and harder to keep things organized. That's why I've really liked having these thin drawers available. It makes it easier to keep things organized and find what you want, although I do want to remake this drawer set and get rid of some of the clutter that I have and organize them a lot better. Above my workbench, I have some overhead storage. Now, I do keep a few shop things up there, but we largely use it for outdoor items or things that are kind of bulky and would just be in the way if they weren't up above us. Even if you have a 100% dedicated shop, having some overhead storage like this can be really helpful. Just keep things you don't use a lot out of the way. Finally, we're to my tool wall. I redid this French cleat wall last year and love how it looks. So I've been going back through and remaking some of my original holders and adding some new ones along the way as well. I also have my hanging wall control panels. These have been absolutely invaluable to me because not only am I able to expand the space on my tool wall, I'm able to take advantage of otherwise wasted space above the workbench as well. So that's everything currently in my shop. I hope seeing what I want to change has encouraged you that no shop is perfect even after a few years. Having had time to work in my shop has allowed me to see what works well for me and what doesn't, so I can make changes and make my shop more effective. A great example of that is the hanging wall control panels. If you're looking for a good weekend project to save you a ton of space and provide immediate benefit to your shop, I have a full video for making the hanging wall control panels pulled up right over here. And I even have a free set of plans available for you as well. So I'll see you in that video.